Anyone who is a
अच्छा.
great actor, great singer, great politician, great businessman is a practicing tantric of previous birth. Without that, nothing can happen. The powers, for example, somebody is a wealthy man. You know what happens? It is the power of yaksh which is bestowed upon that. Why is it that somebody from the age of 10 or 12 is such a great singer? Why is it that
Mm.
somebody attains so much of name and fame at a very early age?
Hi everyone, this is Bitupon here. Welcome to Mindful Talks, where I invite guests to talk about their knowledge and their experiences in various fields like health and wellness, spirituality, self growth, and various other topics. Today, I am with Mr. Lalit Parimu, who is a television and film actor, an author, and a mentor. He was born in Kashmir, but he moved from Kashmir to Delhi to pursue his graduation. Then he joined a theatre group in Delhi, and since then, he had been into the theatre industry. If you are a child of 80s and 90s born in India, then you must have definitely seen Shaktiman. Mr. Parimu was playing the role of Dr. Jekyll in Shaktiman. Yes, he was Dr. Jekyll.
हो गए ना हैरान शक्तिमान.
मैं तुम्हें ये तबाही नहीं करने दूंगा.
तबाही नहीं रुकेगी.
मुझे ये मणि दे दे जयकौल.
कभी नहीं.
I was a big fan of Shaktiman. Besides that, he also worked in dozens of Bollywood movies, including films like Scam 1992 as a CBI director. He worked in the movie Haider in 2014, where his role was praised critically.
क्या कर रहे हो तुम? हैदर? ये पिस्तौल मुझे दे दो.
And he worked in the movie Agent Binod as a professor. He worked in Mubaraka and many other Bollywood movies. He appeared in various other TV serials as well, like CID, Jhume Jiare, Kesariya Balam Aago Hamare Desh, Kabhi To Nazar Milao, and many more. In 2014, he published a book called Main Manushya Hoon, which talks about the dual nature of human emotions and how through Abhinay one can transform the negative emotions. He has his own theatre group called Natsamaz in Mumbai. And in 2006, he founded the Lalit Parimu Academy of Abhinay Yoga. So in my talk show today, I'm not going to talk to him about why he wanted to kill Shaktiman. I'm not going to ask him whether Gangadhar was Shaktiman or not. I'm going to talk to him about yoga. He has deep knowledge in spirituality, and through his workshop, he teaches how to use yogic techniques in acting. I'm going to talk to him about the importance of yoga in all aspects of life. I'm also going to talk about occult, black magic, and tantric vidya. And I'm going to talk about how to find the purpose of life, and going to discuss about many more such topics. So stay tuned and learn a lot from him. I'm excited to talk to him. Let's get started. So Lalit sir, thank you so much for joining. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you for the invitation, Mr. Barua. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. It's a pleasure to have you on my show. Sir, we have a lot to talk because the topic is yoga, and yoga is really a very big concept. It is not just about to exercise. But I have read about your journey that, obviously everybody knows about your character in Shaktiman, and then you were in theaters. Then you have taken a spiritual path. So I want to know how your journey started. What got your interest in spirituality? Then you read a lot about spirituality, speak a lot about it. So let's quickly know about your journey, how it started, sir.
Yes, see, I started my life as an actor when I was around 18. The interest became when I was in my school, in my class 11th and 12th. So the first 7 to 8 years were completely into theatre and television and into the knowing of the craft of acting, studying theatre, studying cinema. All these things were like a passion to me. But why spirituality came into my life, I cannot pinpoint one incident, but a series of incidents that whatever I'm doing is something very false. Maybe my profession was telling me continuously that I'm living in a very artificial, in a fake world, the characters which I'm playing, because they are not real. The world in which I'm living of acting, a make-believe world. I'm continuously living in make-believe world, and I'm chasing name and fame, though I'm getting a little bit of name and fame, but it is not making me complete. I'm still unhappy inside. What was my point of view during those days when I was in my mid-20s, 25, 26, 27, I had tasted small success in television, and people were knowing me. I was getting autographed. I was little bit known. Even when I used to walk on the streets, people used to say that here is an actor and this and that. But inside, I was in a state of mind that was telling me continuously that you are living a fake life. This is an artificial world. The character which these guys are appreciating is not you. You are something different. So I was finding my real personality and the personality which people liked. There is a huge gap in that. And this started giving me a kind of trouble. And I started thinking on the lines that how can I become one inside? And because I was in Delhi at that time, and my future was to move on to Bombay and try my luck in films and do more television, earn a little more money. And my future was like clear cut. Future was clean in my eyes. I had no confusion about it. Bombay was my next step. But I used to think that even if I go to Bombay, get more successful, get reviews after reviews, and get more money, I will be inside like this. And maybe this gap will widen. And this used to give me shivers. And this used to give me a lot of stress.
So how long did
And
it
then
take
what
for you
was-
to get this realization after you moved into the theater? How long did it take?
It started when I was doing television, more into television, getting little success in television. Perhaps theater days were early days, and those were the days of grooming. I was not thinking like that because I was getting appreciated. That was my choice. That was my liking. Because when I was in my school time, when I was 16, 17, I used to crave this dream. I used to visualize this dream that I'm on stage, people are clapping. After the show, I'm being talked about, people are taking autograph from me. I used to imagine these scenes. And then when those scenes are happening, I'm happy. And the next step was earning more money through television and radio. I was doing that. But simultaneously, this cropped in after maybe when I was around 25, 26. I'm talking of 25, 26, 27. These 2, 3 years, I started getting these kind of psychic troubles, I can call that, because I was not completely enjoying my work. Even I had a girlfriend and I was planning to get married and all. But suddenly these thoughts started making me think that life is meaningless. The success which you are chasing, the glamour, particularly which you are chasing, is useless. The uselessness of life was coming very strongly to me at that time. And I used to share it with many of my friends, and they used to make fun of it. They used to say that tu boodha ho raha hai. I used to talk about God and all. I didn't know much about God, but I used to talk about God, and they were saying कि ये तो बुढ़ापे में लोग बात करते हैं. You're talking right now when you're quite young and your aim is to grow more. So what changed my thinking then was while going for a shoot from Delhi to Mysore. I was doing a TV show, and the entire shoot was to happen at Mysore. We used to travel by train. At one station, I just climbed down and was roaming on the platform, looking here, there, and then I came across a bookstall. There was a Ramakrishna bookstall, a very small bookstall. I just went there, looked for a few books here, there, this and that. But suddenly I saw a few books of Swami Vivekananda. And they were very cheap books, 25 rupees for 4 books. Jnana Yoga, Raj Yoga, Prem Yoga, Bhakti Yoga. These were the 4 books. I suddenly thought, let me read it. I took those 4 books and went away and went into the train. And in that shoot, I read those 4 books. And those 4 books actually gave me the real motivation to move on the spiritual track. I found an answer to my solutions. Now, here is one Swamiji and Swami Vivekananda. He was talking very logical, very rational about spirituality, about Upanishad, and about strength. Because the way I was thinking, I was becoming weak. I was actually becoming psychologically weak. That what to do in life. I've chosen a path of acting and earning money through acting, but this path is not very good. I mean, there are problems in it. I could sense more problems coming in future, which I realized later on. I'll talk about it later on, that how those problems actually led to find another solution. But here I was coming close to ideas of spirituality through Swami Vivekananda. Then immediately when I came back to my home, I went to Ramakrishna Ashram. I bought most of the books. I used to regularly buy books. I started interacting with Ramakrishna Mutt sannyasis, talking about Upanishad, Swamiji, and Bhagavad Gita and all that. And a taste developed. So while working as an actor, while chasing my dreams, I simultaneously started first reading. There was in spirituality, you call this stage as a stage of Shravan. There are three
Shravan.
stages: Shravan, Manan, and Nididhyasan. So this was my Shravan stage. So I used to often go to the library of Ramakrishna Mission and read whatever Upanishads I could come across. I thought of making a TV show also on Upanishad. Then I shifted to Bombay, and even here I was in touch with Ramakrishna people. I used to attend their aartis, their programs, and interact with certain sannyasis. And I had started realizing that it is meditation that will give you the spiritual wealth and spiritual health. So I was talking of meditation to some sannyasis also there. And some people gave me something. I was looking for it. I was hungry for meditation now. And the way Swami Vivekananda mentioned a lot of things, that it is important to have a guru. So I was looking for a guru. Now imagine a man who is from the glamour world, who is having his career in acting and in Bombay, apart from doing my acting work and finding work. Because in Bombay, I was also meeting producers and directors. At the same time, I'm looking for guru in my free time. I used to travel to all kinds of auditoriums, wherever I used to get a chance to listen to a well-known speaker. In Bombay, generally there are a lot of such engagements, particularly in Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan. All the way I used to drive my scooter and my bike from Andheri to Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan, which is in town, and used to attend their lectures. Even in Khar also, where these Ramakrishna Mission Ashram was established, I used to attend a lot of lectures on Upanishad and Bhagavad Gita mostly. And self-development, some people used to give holistic lectures on how life should be lived and all. At the same time, I was looking for teacher, a guru. And then in that library, one fine day, I came across a magazine called Osho Times. That was the first time in 92 or 93, I came across Acharya Rajneesh and his work. And that also fascinated me. So during that time, I was coming across a lot of whatever available is, easily available is in the market. Be it Acharya Rajneesh, be it Arvind, be it J. Krishnamurti, be it Gurdjieff, be it so many other Swami Raman Maharishi. I used to read about Eckhart Tolle. And there were so many books coming. Yeah, I used to come across so many books and so many people and so many small people who were interested in it. But I could never find a proper guru. The guru and the methodology came to me in the year 1996 when I came across few sannyasis from a particular organization which is known as Anand Marg Pracharak Sangh.
Okay.
And the guru of that organization is Sri Sri Anand Murthy ji. Because by the time I had learned a lot of yogic practices, I attended a lot of workshops. I would mention one particularly in Bombay at Santa Cruz, the Yoga Institute. It's a very nice institute where they teach you basics of the yoga and they take you to the level of dharana in yoga. But they're not mainly into meditation on all. They're more health-wise connected with yogic system. But here, when I came across these sannyasis of this mission, and their system was based on Tantra. And I had also realized that Tantra is the best way, and the awakening of Kundalini and all, which many people are aware, that is the only way, Indian way, the best way to awaken the divine spirituality within you. So they had certain conditions and I fulfilled those conditions, becoming a vegetarian and all, and following the principle of yam and niyam, giving up your smoking and all that. I systematically followed that path of meditation, and it took me nearly 2 years to gradually learn various lessons and various ideas of that meditation. And that suited me so well that I realized a lot of things and I became connected with Guru through meditation only. The Guru of this system is a very strange Guru. He is physically no more.
Okay.
And he's not very popular. He is a hidden Guru. And in my opinion, he's the best Guru on Tantra. And his literature is available through his disciples only. Through the organization only, things are available. And he's not a popular man. He's not a man of the masses. So ordinary people do not know the way people know about Osho or Krishnamurti or even Ravi Shankar ji or even Sadhguru. The way they have become popular, this Guru is not at all a popular person. But he has made a huge organization. He has created a very strong organization. And there are chains of schools and colleges and ashrams and so many things happening all over the world. But many people are not aware of it. And I got, in a way, settled here. So whereas my journey was concerned, I found a guru, I found a system. And since then, I'm doing that. And I got some wonderful realizations also. And I realized what is the value of a guru.
So what
can
is
say-
Tantra Sadhana? You actually talk a lot about it. And people mostly think that Tantra means only about Jadoo Tona and all. Even I am not very clear in this subject, but I'm sure that many of the viewers, usually when we use the word Tantra, they think it's only about Jadoo Tona. Can you throw some more light on what exactly is Tantra Sadhana?
Yeah, this is the Tantra Sadhana which I learned from my guru and the system which I was talking about right now. It's very scientific. And the beauty of the guru is that he has explained everything in a very rational, in a very modern, scientific way. Yes, you are right. When you talk about Tantra, people are confused and people get scared because the books which you see and the rituals and some of the tantrics which are available, they do a lot of weird things which has no connection with the real Tantra. Actually, if I talk about Tantra, it's a very huge and a big subject. In brief, the way our guru has explained it and put it in practice for the learners and aspirants, it's like this, that Tantra has two major parts. One is called as Vidya Tantra, one is called as Avidya Tantra. Most of the people of Jadoo Tona culture, they are talking of Avidya Tantra.
Achha.
Vidya Tantra is connected with liberation. Vidya Tantra is connected with awakening of Kundalini. And Kundalini is the fundamental science in Tantra, which can be said as the sleeping divinity. It is the sleeping divinity within a human being. We say that you are divine, but where is this divinity? How is this divinity there? So it is unexpressed. This divinity is unexpressed, and it is called as Kundalini. So it is basically a strong energy within you. And then the concept of chakras are explained from Muladhara, Swadhisthana, Manipur, Vishuddha, Anahat, Vishuddha, Agya and Sahasrara. And these chakras are basically your energy centers. The lowest chakra is the chakra of Muladhara, and that chakra contains the divine energy. And with the help of Ishtamantra, and Ishtamantra is basically a vibration, a spiritual vibration, which an aspirant receives from a teacher when he gets initiated on the path. With the chanting of that Ishtamantra, the divinity gets slowly awakened. And there are so many details in it. There are huge ideas connected with it. And the basic science is that the Muladhara is the place where Kundalini is right now, unexpressed. With the vibration of Ishtamantra, it is awakened and it moves from one chakra to another. And when it reaches first Agya and then the Sahasrara chakra, it is awakened, and that is what is a man gets the divine powers or divine wealth or spiritual wealth, or he becomes an evolved human being. This is in one line the basic idea of Vidya Tantra Sadhana. Avidya Tantra Sadhana is connected with gaining certain mental powers to achieve whatever your desires are. They are generally 5 or 6 in number, like Sammohan, Uchchatan, Vashikaran, Mohan, Maran. If you want to kill somebody, you can kill with a mantra. This is what Avidya Tantra teaches.
So this power can be used both in a good way and a bad way, depending on who the person
only
is.
Avidya Tantra, if you are practicing Avidya Tantra, you use it generally in a bad way. Because it was practiced mostly by politicians of early times and the kings and their people. And in order to destroy others, they used to use it. But Vidya Tantra teaches you not to use your powers. Vidya Tantra wants you to reach the highest stage, which is the stage of Shiva, where you get merged. The idea of Mukti and Moksha, which is a very prominent idea in Hindu philosophy, that is what Vidya Tantra wants you. But while practicing the Vidya Tantra, you may gain certain occult powers, no doubt in that. And one may misuse those occult powers to gain more power, to gain more wealth, to control more people, to attract people, to hypnotize people. This is what is the drawback. If you are misled by your powers, then you will fall. The downfall is also very certain. So Tantra has one problem, which is that the ascent is very quick and the descent is also very quick. That is why Tantra is to be learned and practiced very cautiously and carefully with the help of a teacher only. Otherwise, downfall is certain, because human nature is such that it consists of so many weaknesses. You know, I suppose I'm not very rich, but I want to become rich, and I have a desire to just capture maybe what you have gained. Your empire I want to capture. And I have gained some occult powers, but those occult powers can give me the strength, and I can misuse that. I can use the tricks of the trade of whatever means are. I can destroy you and take that. But that will also start my downfall. This is also bound to happen. So our Guru has taught the system of Vidya Tantra, where you have to work in this world with your own energy and save and preserve the spiritual energy and spiritual force to attain the highest stage, which is the Mukti and Moksha. This is how it is. But in details, there are a lot of things meant in Tantra Sadhana. I can say all over the world, and particularly in India, only this Guru has made that system very scientific, although it is open. But if you're not the right candidate, things will happen in such a way that you will neither get it, and even if you get it, you will forget it. It is designed so beautifully. If you are a corrupt man, if you're an immoral person, and you want to learn the sadhana, you may start the journey, but immediately you will loosen it if you are immoral. So here, morality is the ground. It is said that morality is the ground force on which the wings of Tantra are there.
So you said people in the earlier days used to have this power and used on kings and all and politicians and all.
Yeah,
Do you think people
yes.
nowadays still have used this power, especially
People
like
have
in
these powers,
Bollywood?
but they're not.
I want to ask particularly about Bollywood. Do you have any idea if there are people and producers using it, and if there are present politicians who are using it for votings and all? Do you have any idea about that?
Yes, to some extent people do use, but most of the people who are practicing it, they are cheating. They are more into cheating business. They befool the people. And they may do it in their own way with the very negative forces. See, it's not very different to say that I'll do this kind of ritual and you will attain that woman. If the chase is to attain a particular girl, but they do it in a different way. They hire gundas, they pressurize the other partner, and they take the credit in a different way. We do not have very established tantrics these days. And Avidya Tantra was practiced very much in ancient times. That is at least 1500 or 2000 or 3000 years back. See, I can give you an example from our mythology. The negative Avidya Tantra is also called as Rakshasi Vidya, the Vidya of Rakshasas. In Ramayana, there is an episode when Angad, as a messenger, goes to the court of Ravan. And Ravan is there with his son and some 12-13 ministers. So those 13 people, they tried to trick Angad by asking him that, could you please point out who Ravan is? And suddenly they practiced one practice of Avidya Tantra, which is also called as plastic science, that everybody became Ravan. Through their occult power, the faces change, except Indrajit. The Meghnad. Except Meghnad, there is a story. And Angad was confused that there are 12 people of same face and only one Indrajit or Meghnad who is challenging Angad, tell me who my father is. And Angad was confused for some time. But because Angad was also a practitioner, now this is just an example of putting it the whole episode in Ramayana. The way, if you practice this Avidya Tantra, the best way to disrupt the Avidya Tantric is to get them angry, make them angry. This is being taught. To us also this was taught. If some Avidya Tantric is doing a wrong practice on you, just get him angry so that his concentration breaks. So Angad did the same thing. He made Indrajit angry along with other ministers. Like he said, I didn't know it, Mr. Indrajit, that you had 12 fathers. You were born out of 12 fathers. So everybody was a little angry and their concentration was less and they came in their same faces. And Angad was easily able to identify who Ravan is. This is one example of Avidya Tantra. There are so many stories in Mahabharata and Ramayana and other Purana also, where tantric practices are being hiddenly, secretly explained.
That's really interesting, sir. Very fascinating things we still have to know. But one
See,
more
in Bengal and Assam, Bengal and Assam, even our early 20th century, things like Vashikaran were practiced at a very nice level, but it had its own negative impact. Bengal also is a land where a lot of spirituality was practiced, but later on, as our Guru has said, the past 1200 years, the Vidya Tantra part is completely vanished. It's only
Acha.
a Vidya Tantra which is left. So that is why whenever you come across a tantric, you think that that some Jadu Tona, that this Maran, this hypnotism, all that is there. The Vidya Tantra part has been completely vanished because we lost the people because of the attacks, because of the invasions, and because of the inter-rivalry among these tantrics. We could not have a collective impact of it on our society. So slowly it went away. Through this guru, it has been revived. And there are many people who are practicing it. Even anyone who is famous is actually a tantric of a previous birth. I can tell you like that. Anyone who is a great actor, great singer, great politician, great businessman is a practicing tantric of previous birth. Without that, nothing can happen. Believe me.
Oh,
The
that's really
powers,
interesting.
yeah, it is like this.
Ah.
The powers, for example, somebody is a wealthy man. You know what happens? It is a power of yaksh, which is bestowed upon that sadhak.
Oh.
On the path of sadhana, when you move on, you gain certain access to become close to Param Purush. Then these forces stop you. They
Acha.
deviate your energy. Like what will stop you? The yaksh will stop you. Yaksh means the lord of wealth. So you may be given wealth, or the events can happen such that you are drawn towards earning more money. So your energy gets channelized towards earning more money. Similarly, Gandharva Shakti also is another way of diluting or disrupting the energy of a sadhak. Gandharva gives the talent of fine arts. So why is it that somebody from the age of 10 or 12 is such a great singer? Why is it that somebody attains so much of name and fame at a very early age? It is all because of these powers and these subtle forces which are in the cosmos. See, Tantra is such a subject that if you understand it deeply, you will understand the entire cosmic scheme. There is no injustice in cosmos. There is nothing wrong in cosmos. There is no disorder in cosmos. There is a beautiful order. There is no anarchy. We may see that anarchy or disorder or injustice is here on this planet Earth. But if you go deep into the causes of everything, you will find that everything is right at a very cosmic scheme of things. Whether it is COVID-18, COVID-19, or whether it is a war, or whether it is the victory of capitalism, all comes according to a big plan. And Tantra very beautifully makes you understand all that.
So you mean to say
Yeah.
that all this knowledge has been vanished, and it was by
Yeah,
purpose,
yeah.
right? It was by purpose, so that people really in the future do not evolve. Do you think it was because of that, or it was because of rivalry that
It is
others did
because
not?
of the
Uh,
it is because of the cosmic scheme of things. As I said right now, the cosmos or the planet Earth, along with the solar system and along with the galaxy, it shifts its alignment. Sometimes towards what is called as devil, and sometimes towards what are known as angels.
Okay.
So if you study planet Earth, even through Puranas, you will come to know there are so many stories that in Purana we have mentioned. We have such stories that Bhagwan Vishnu ne dharti ko rakshason se bachaya. So what is that? That is an indication of bringing the Vidya Tantra in planet Earth. Otherwise, it goes towards the devil force. Devil force means more mean-mindedness, selfishness, loot, injustice, and disorder. So there is a division of planets and galaxies in the universe. Our planet Earth is not a very great planet. Unfortunately, it is a very what they say is it's an ugly duckling. There are a lot of there are a lot of things to understand. When you go a little deep into it, you'll realize that planet Earth has been made for a particular cause, and everything happens due to a cause. Only for some time, angelic forces take charge of planet Earth. But most of the time, if we say a period of 500 years, only for 100 years, angels will control it. For 400 years, devils will control it. So if devil is the controller, you know, in Puran, we have stories of Devasur Sangram. So apply that theory and you will find that there are so many planets which are under the subjugation of devil force. So devils are also very powerful, and they have their control in the universe in a very balanced way along with angels. The universe is running because of the struggle between these two forces. Otherwise, this universe will not run.
Right.
It is said that in this solar system, it is Venus which is the best planet. It is
Sure.
Venus which is the planet of highly evolved people, where a lot of things have been attained, where the human civilization is at a very high level.
Mm.
So Earth might become something like that, or Earth might lose its existence after 1,000 years or 1,500 years by fulfilling for what purpose Earth was created. So these are all mysterious things, and till now, science has not been able to unravel even 5% of it.
Nice.
But the spiritual science has the capacity to make you realize. It is not a subject which can be discussed at a mass level. That is why those who know, they are very few in number.
Nice. And it is also not something that we
Yeah.
can discuss over a talk show. This is a very
Of course, yeah.
big subject. Yeah. But I want to know about Abhinay Yoga. I understand that yoga is, useful in all aspects of life. But since you being from the theater industry, what is Abhinay Yoga and how do you use yoga for acting skills? Can you throw some light on that, sir?
Yeah, as in my journey, because my journey was a combination of yoga and tantra. You also are a student of yoga, as you earlier mentioned, that yoga is not just a set of exercises. The 8 limbs of yoga, which we call as yam, niyam, asana, pranayam, pratyahar, dharana, dhyan, and samadhi. Samadhi is the 8th limb, which is the culmination of all yogic exercises. So what most of the people are right now connected with yoga is the set of exercises, the asanas.
Yes.
So because it has been marketed like that, why it has been marketed? Because people need money, people need to sell certain things. But asana and pranayam are the first, they are part of the first half of a yogic journey. The real yogic journey begins from pratyahar, where you learn to withdraw your mind from the external world and start going inside. The inward journey begins with pratyahar, and then comes dharana, and then comes dhyan, and then comes samadhi. So because I being an actor, at the same time a practitioner of yoga and tantra, I realized that the work of an actor when works, he works on a scene and a monologue and on a character, a role which is assigned, whether on stage or whether in front of camera for a TV show or a film. He becomes highly concentrated, and all his indriyas, his body, his voice, his emotions, and everything of his personality gets channelized into that character. And when he is performing, he is a highly concentrated capsule. So that is a yogic attainment,
Achha.
if you think like this. So this I realized while working as an actor, you just forget about everything else. So I connected this with pratyahar. While in my training of yoga, I was studying pratyahar and practicing it in different ways. I realized that here is a pratyahar. An actor who works on a role is practicing pratyahar. And when he is delivering completely highly concentrated way, he is practicing dharana, because rest of the other things, rest of the worried areas are now excluded. He's not thinking of paying bills. He's not thinking of future. He's not thinking of past. He's in the moment. He's in the present. That's the beauty. Yoga also teaches you to be in the present. And when an actor emotes, it's like expressing anger or tragedy, which is sadness. So he is converting his emotional energy into a fresh energy, and the ras which is created, this ras gives the scene its required status. A good scene is, or a good monologue or a good dialogue is, when you have created that ras. So ras is created. So I thought this can be practiced by any individual. Why only an actor? And by conscious reproduction of ras with the method of acting, one can move on the path of dharana and pratyahar and heal oneself. So this was the fundamental idea, and thus I created this concept of Abhinay Yoga, and I started doing workshops. See, because every individual has certain emotions which are predominant. Like somebody is more angry, somebody is more jealous, somebody is more fearful, somebody has hate more, somebody has possessiveness more. All these negative forces, they are there. Now, do it as an actor. I created certain monologues and certain scenes, keeping the required negative force in the mind. So I created a set of monologues. First, the negative monologue, for example, deal with the anger. So the monologue of anger I created, where an aspirant or a student has to work on that monologue and take it out of the system of his inner world and create ras and feel happy. See, ras gives you happiness. If you create ras, you become happy for some time, at least for a day or two, because you have done some creative work. So first you have to express the negative emotion of anger, and then a positive monologue was created, which is the opposite of this negative anger, where you say consciously that I'm understanding the cause of the anger and I'm trying to improve it. If you see the monologues, then you will understand what I'm saying. So the idea became first express negativity, then plant positivity. Express negativity, then plant positivity. This way you can heal your mental world. And I did it with a lot of students and practice, and this I started calling Abhinay Yoga. The whole Abhinay Yoga I divided in 3 phases. In the first phase, I speak about the training of an actor. So first, anyone who wants to learn Abhinay Yoga must learn certain elements of acting: the body, the voice, the emotions, the understanding of playing a character, certain group exercises, certain acting games. And then in the second phase, I have devised the negative part of an individual. One has to identify the negativity within, and that negativity has to be expressed first in a negative scene and then replaced it by the positive scene. This is the second phase of Abhinay Yoga. And then in the third phase, the higher lessons of concentration of yoga and tantra are taught. This is how a system has been made of 3 phases of Abhinay Yoga. See, you cannot learn higher methods of meditation unless and until your mind has reached a stage which is little bit positive. We oscillate between negativity and positivity.
Yes.
But by and large, a mind should be a little more positive than negative. If your mind is 30% positive and 70% negative, you cannot digest the lessons of tantra. You cannot digest the practice of meditation. The therapy is in the creativity. The therapy is make your negative world a little more positive by art. So here the art is acting. Apply the skills of acting and channelize your negative force and slowly make it positive, and then learn meditation and go a little more deeper and deeper and deeper. This is the fundamental idea of Abhinay Yoga.
All right, got it, sir. So tell me about your book, sir. I think you have published a book also in 2014, which is Main Manushya Hoon. That's your book, right? What readers can get from your book? What is it book all about?
See, it is everything about what I said.
All right.
There are a set of monologues. Abhinay, it talks about Abhinay Yoga, and through monologues and scenes.
Okay.
This Abhinay has to be expressed. In yoga, there is a term called rechan. Rechan. Aapko rechan karna hai. Through scenes, you have to emote more and more. See, I realized that a lot of diseases, particularly psychic diseases, they happen because of the suppressed, strong negative emotions. If you have not expressed hate inside you for 20 years, it is bound to lead to a disorder, first mental, and then a physical disorder in form of, say, any disease. So if you are intelligent enough to understand at any stage of life, maybe when after one reaches a mature stage of 30 years, one is intelligent enough to understand that which emotion is predominant. Though outwardly, we all have to behave in a nice way, in a friendly way, because society is like that. But inside, the anger due to family, anger due to government, anger due to the company where you're working gets suppressed. So where will this suppressed energy go? It will remain in your subconscious mind. If we understand psychology, we know that the subconscious mind is the repository of all our suppressed feelings.
So it has to come
after
out
a point,
one day.
It has to come out. So when you see a lot of people misbehaving on the streets, it's because of that subconscious energy. Or in the houses, in the domestic area, certain negativity, when you see, it's because of that suppressed energy. So art, earlier times also, in ancient times also, art was the best way. Art today also is the best way. You make paintings, you sing a song, you dance, you act in drama, you make a short film, you make a feature film. So all that negative emotion gets channelized. You see, in West, I used to tell my students most of the often that many of the directors of West, of Europe or America, they would have been criminals if they had not made such action movies. I strongly give the example of Quentin Tarantino. Tarantino is an Italian director who made films like Pulp Fiction, Kill Bill, and you see the kind of murders he shows in the film, the blood, the beating, the violence. Even one of our friend director, Sri Ram. He is also full of violence. There is so much of violence in his movies, and he comes across with vague ideas of killing.
Hmm.
So from where do these ideas come? They are there within your subconscious mind.
Hmm.
It is actually, don't mind my saying, it is the creativity of sick people.
Acha.
I don't want to quote the names, but many of the actors who are only playing gangster roles, who are only into murders, they're actually inside sick people. They would have gone to jail. If they have not gone to films, they would have gone to jails. I can assure you that. Why is one person after attempt to murder, he goes to a jail, and one person can become a good actor? If he goes through the
Got it.
same training, yeah, he can
Hmm.
acting can help you in channel because it gives you the catharsis which is required.
Hmm.
That energy gets released and you get appreciation. The best thing is appreciation is received. And the third thing is the money. You're getting money for your criminal roles, for
Right.
your shouting, for your abusing. If you abuse on the streets or you abuse in the house, you'll be called as a madman. You abuse in front of camera,
You get
you're a
fame
good
and
actor.
money. Yeah.
You get
Nice.
fame and money. It
That's
is not
true.
only with anger, it is with crying also. It is with tragedy also. Most of the
Okay.
actors or actresses who cry so well in front of camera or on stage, the tragedy queens and all, they're also inside in a very bad shape.
Acha.
So art, since time immemorial, they have helped humanity in channelizing the negative emotions and in attaining catharsis. So the idea
Catharsis.
is to
Okay.
attain catharsis. Yeah.
Okay.
So
What does that mean?
catharsis is the release of that
Okay.
suppressed feeling
Okay.
in a form of a creative emotion.
Okay.
See, the idea of Greek drama is based on catharsis. If you
Okay.
go into the history of it, when I discovered Abhinay Yoga, I started relating to so many discoveries.
Hmm.
I'll just share you. Because of this also, I realized that how Greek tragedies were written.
Hmm.
They were written some 500 years back.
Okay.
And they are beautifully enacted. If you see a good Greek tragedy like Oedipus, like Electra, like Iphigenia in Aulis, like Agamemnon, Medea, and there's another play, very well-known play. Why am I forgetting that name? Anyway,
Okay.
it's a very creative way of expression of tragic emotions.
Hmm.
And because of that expression of tragedy by actors and for the audience also, they used to experience this catharsis and their inner feeling of tragedy was channelized. That was what the society attained. It was designed by great saint-like people.
Hmm.
In their terminology, they are called as poet-philosophers. The dramatists were poet-philosophers.
Hmm.
So it is a kind of ceremony. The Greek plays were kind of ceremony. People, 10,000 people attending. And at a mass level, tragedy was expressed. And that is how they used to deal with their inner tragic feelings. And why they had tragedy more? Because they were continuously in war. Athens and Sparta, for 100 years, they were continuously in war.
Right.
So people used to get killed, women used to become widow, children used to become orphan. That was the state of affairs. And how to deal with it. So the emotional channelization was a method which they discovered, and drama played a great role in it. So Abhinay Yoga is something like that.
Got it. Okay. So,
Yeah.
sir, this is my last question to you. There are a lot of people who are young, actually, of the age 20s and all. So, a lot of them are stuck in life or they're not able to find their purpose. So, what message do you have to somebody who is 20-year-old and still trying to find their purpose? What message do you have for them?
See, I know it's a very good question, and often it is being asked. And after so many years of research, and observation, one thing is that you cannot give a general guidance. General guidance is not available. Actually, it doesn't work. Guidance on these lines should be individual to individual, because every individual is different. So anyone who has not found a passion, what to do at the age of 20, he has to find a passion first. Now it will take its own time. If it is not there, if one is not, suppose one has taken admission in an engineering course, just because the parents want him to do or her to do engineering, and his heart is not in engineering, his heart is in filmmaking, but he doesn't know what to do, how to go, because his parents will not allow. So first and foremost, the idea of what to do should come from parents when children are of the age of 5, 8, 10, 12. The journey should begin then.
Okay.
Only then at the age of 20, there will be clarity.
Okay.
See, because of my interest in yoga and spirituality, I came across a lot of ancient wisdom. In ancient wisdom, the occupation was transferred from father to son very natural, in a very natural way.
Okay.
So that was one very good system of education and system of getting an employment. If, for example, if a kid who was in the family of those who are making handicrafts, the kid has a easy way to become a craftsman at a very early age because he's seeing everything there. Now apply the same principle to when we say children of film family. We call it nepotism, but it's easy for a child of 12 or 13 years old to see his father making films and be in that atmosphere and pick up some trade there, pick up some craft there, or maybe an assistant there, an assistant production man there, and learn it. That is a better way of learning. So by the time you're 20, 25, you're already skilled craftsman in some area.
Right.
So now if people are not like that, so what do generally like people who are from like my family, I was lucky that I got this passion at the age of 16, 17 and I was like a horse. At the age of 16, 17, I realized I must become an actor. So everything moved on that line. I had nothing else. I used to tell to my friends that either I should become an actor or I should die because I had no other skill.
Okay.
The skill of yoga and other thing happened much later when I started learning that subject.
Yes.
And then I learned direction and all because it's a part of acting. I used to direct plays and even I do that. I teach acting. That is one skill which developed later on. Otherwise, in my early 20s, I had no other skill except acting.
Okay.
So that helped me. So if you have only one skill, then automatically you move on that path. But if you do not have any particular skill and you're confused, so you have to wait and watch and practice all things. You have to try engineering, you have to try management, you have to try, if you're a poet, you have to keep on trying and then time will take you to the correct destination. Other thing which I would say is that this is one area, selection of a career. Other thing is start from early age, moving on the path of spirituality. Start from an early age. If it is 18, be it 18. Learn yoga, learn tantra, learn meditation, learn values, learn good values, learn to become a moralist, learn to become an honest person. That is what is required these days more and more. Society has become more corrupt so far as the morality and values are concerned. So for a youngster, I would say in the long run, it is your honesty, it is your steadfastness, it is your moral value that will sustain you against a lot of calamities. I'm saying calamities because nature also punishes you. You may escape the government, you may escape the power people, you may trick them, you may befool them. You cannot befool nature. Nature doesn't leave you. Prakriti punishes you after some time. No one can escape the punishment of Prakriti. Even you as an individual may escape. Maybe your family will suffer for generations to come. And people will be, it will be sad for that person. I mean, to take his name even would be a very sad. So these are the laws of Prakriti. Spirituality teaches you how to follow the laws. You should become smart. There is no harm in it. You should be street smart. You should not be befooled. Sometimes people think that by becoming good, we become weak. No, goodness and weakness are not interconnected. You should be very strong. No one should befool you. No one should cheat you. But you should not also cheat.
Right.
But you should be smart and at the same time intelligent and find your means of earning at a very early age and move slowly and steadfastly on the spiritual path. This is what I would like to say.
Okay, sir. So it was great talking to you, sir. Actually, we spoke a lot about Tantra, and many people think that yoga is only about the exercise part. As you mentioned, it is not just exercise. It is one limb of yoga. And there are so many things to learn in yoga, right? And I'm sure viewers must have taken a lot of knowledge from you, a lot of wisdom from you. So thank you so much for joining and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Badlaji.
All right,
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, take care.
Take care,
Namaskar.
sir. Namaskar, sir. Bye-bye.